Hey everyone, Spazzy Dragon here on my good microphone, and welcome to the Meet the Faction Part 3. So today isn't actually a specific episode because this is going to be the first time that we have a unofficial faction joining us, and so with me here today I have Mr. Hudson, aka the Protégé. That thing in the top left corner. Hello.
Hello, yes, I'm Protégé, I'm Hudson, I'm two people at once.
You are the person who I simply cannot be bothered to type your name out correctly because screw that noise.
Yes, exactly.
Right,
Well,
so you know the drill. So let's start things off by you telling
mentioning the
us...
name of the faction.
Really? Wisp something something, I'm not sure. Like, it has a W in the name.
Yeah, it's Wisp Innovations.
So what it is. Okay, so, well, before we get to that, first of all, let's talk about you, because this is obviously what we actually came here for, isn't it? So, when did
Yes,
you join? What did you do? What unmentionable factions that you specifically told me not to mention did you make in your time here?
you scum. Well, I
Get
joined
triggered.
this... I joined Discovery in April last year, so that's like a year and a half now, so I'm pretty new here, to be
I still
honest,
have a
but
video showing you how turret steering works and you just raging.
yes, yes, but despite the fact that I've been on Discovery for quite a short time, I was actually playing freelancer for about 6 years before that. I was playing in Hamburg City, so I'm kind of that sort of snub horse, PvP horse, and so on. But hey, I came to Discovery. I liked the roleplay. I stayed, so it's the thing.
What
I
did you
like it.
expect, like, when you came here? Like, did you come here for the roleplay, or did you just come here because lol
I
active server?
Yeah, the latter definitely. I came here just because, hey, I like freelancer. This is the last active freelancer server besides some Russian one. So I mean, hey, might as well try. It can't be that bad, and it really wasn't that bad.
Well, I mean, you're still here, so that counts for something.
Yeah.
So, about your faction itself, how many factions have you tried? Because I mean, you are known on the forum for the guy with the really cool visuals in his posts and his faction write-ups.
Yeah, I'm actually, by trade, I suppose, I'm a graphic designer, but I I made quite a few of them. I suppose notably the one that I started like that actually kicked off was Zenith. Sorry, Exile's Intelligence. I
Mm.
also before that tried Blue Blaze, which was this kind of
Shoot
bounty.
all the things.
Yeah, it was kind of like bounty hunter rich kids guys that were just trying to help out the lawfuls in Liberty. And then I also was the founder of Blood Rose Syndicate, which I'm not going to talk about.
And
And
then
now I'm
there's
here.
and then there's that one, the one that we don't mention anymore,
No,
right?
no, don't say. Like, that's
That's
a
forbidden.
black stain.
That's taboo.
That's a black stain in my history on Discovery.
Hey, everyone needs it. Hey, hello, Cap 8 Armors. So, tell us about, like, why did you pick Crier? Let's start with, like, the basis. Why did you pick Crier, considering you are, good in snubs and, your past factions were kind of PvP orientated?
The exact reason I chose Cryo was because of one of the community tutorials that she put out on the forums. And it was the community tutorial on IDs. And one of the IDs that I saw there that I kind of overlooked when I first looked at the list of them was actually Crier, because Crier has a lot of really neat lines in their ID that, they might not seem really great at first, but then you look at them, you kind of crunch them, the ideas in your head, and then you realize, hey, that's actually this gives you a lot of opportunities. So I looked at it and I said, hey, this could make for a nice faction that,
I
because
can abuse the fuck out of.
yes, but also at the same time, I feel like this idea is pretty balanced, despite the fact that we can do quite a bit of stuff outside of our ZOI. It's fine, and if anything were to be removed from it, I suppose it would be much worse.
Well, to be
Not
fair,
not as fun anymore.
Okay, so we are currently in Sigma 17, so we
Yes.
are next to Atka Research Station. So what can you
Yes.
actually tell us about the Zone of Influence? So Crier, as far as I know, it
Alright.
is a Liberty faction, right?
So
So what are we doing here?
as far as Cryer's zone of influence is concerned, the Cryer actually owns only I believe it's only 2 stations in Freelancer in general. And that is Atka that we're at right now. That is Cambridge Research Station and, well, guess which system. And also Cryer in Roleplay owns several research institutes on Denver in Colorado. So
What about what's his face, Riverside in California?
that's Synth Foods.
Ah, okay. And yeah, okay, that actually does make sense. There's actually
And
quite a bit of like too many of these kind of factions associated with Liberty, so yeah, at some point you kind of
yeah, and like the Wisp in itself, the Wisp innovations, it's kind of like we're trying to dissociate ourselves from that libertonian type of deal that's going on around Cryer. That's pretty much the entire reason that I picked the name Wisp instead of going full out Cryer, because in roleplay Wisp is actually a
subset.
subsidiary of
Yeah.
Cryer that operates in the Sigmas, operates from the Sigmas, operates from Atka. We also, like in roleplay, own 1/3 of this station, which we use to conduct research on various stuff. And from a gameplay perspective, Cryer has Zone of Influence in here in Sigma 17, in Cambridge, and the entirety of Liberty, which might not seem like a lot until you realize that you don't really need Zone of Influence for anything.
Especially with this ID in
Yes,
particular.
because Cryer has this neat line that allows you to attack outcasts, lane hackers, Liberty rogues, and golden chrysanthemums anywhere. Which basically means you can attack anyone from the Cardamine Alliance wherever you please, which is
Okay.
actually really nice. And this is the reason why actually Wisp operates mostly in the northern series. We don't go that much to Liberty, we don't go that much to Britonia, but we operate at the exits of the Cardamine smuggling routes, so like in Sigma 19, in Kasari, and in Tau 37.
So this is probably the first time someone took what is essentially a trading faction and made it into a sort of a lawful hunting group.
Perhaps, yes. I mean, that tutorial that I mentioned before, that you made was the person that described the Cryer ID there used the term lawful corsair, and I really like that because it really gives a lot of what this faction is about and what you can make with it.
Okay, so you mentioned in particular that you have a wide enough encounters when it comes to zone of influence, when it comes to outside of your, zone of influence. What kind of factions do you run into the most? What kind of interactions do you have with them?
Well, so the interactions that we have the most are obviously with our enemies, so with Outcast, GC, and so on. Much less so Rogues and LH because they are Liberty-based. And the encounters with them are basically kind of hostile because Wisp is also very heavily ideological. And that means that we really despise people that use Cardamine. We have directives that just say basically, if you are in a house space, tell them to surrender instantly. If you're not in house space, just kill them. Because the entire narrative is that they kind of gave up their humanity for the thing that made them dependent on Cardamine, basically.
Yeah.
That's kind of the narrative we're trying to create here. So the encounters with our enemies are mostly really short and usually end up with a blue message.
On either side.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the friendly interactions? You
The friend.
mentioned about the, exits from the smuggling route, so obviously you're
Yes.
in the
So
Taos and,
we are in
GMG,
the
MG.
cows. We had some really nice interactions with the IMG. We actually are in the middle of a little cooperation project against Cardamine smugglers with the IMG. We are there. With the GMG, we're kind of avoiding each other because the reason for that is they lay claim to Sigma 17 as their sovereign space, which is something we are not really that keen on because we are also cooperating with Corsairs. We bring them meds and synth weed and medstasis bands and so on.
Yeah, and I can see
In
how they can
exchange,
actually
in exchange
take
for
your shit.
them, in exchange for them being at Lagos and actually like helping us out if anyone would ever attack Atka. That's like pretty much the only reason this thing still exists, is that Corsairs are defending it. At least, you know, that's the lore behind it, I suppose.
Well, I suppose at this point I would be asking you, how does the, the current Crier differentiate itself from the previous month? But as far as I personally remember, the previous Crier was mostly a trading faction. I think we already covered that. So what I'm going to do is just skip to the next point and, well, what kind of player is your faction made for? Like, what sort of player would I need to be to find your faction attractive?
Alright, so basically the entire faction is lawful, so you generally should like playing lawfuls.
And deal with Corsairs?
Yes, but I mean that's not, we consider Corsairs lawful. That's kind of like they have the bigger gun diplomacy, so they can
Okay,
do whatever they want.
okay, you're lawful, okay.
But I mean it's the Omicrons, right? It's the space is dangerous and
West. Shit. Oh yeah, either you make friends or you make enemies, so you
yeah,
might as well make friends.
Yeah, but back to your question. Wisp actually has 3 sections. The first one is Station Crew, which is basically like researchers and stuff. You don't see them much in space, but if you're interested in forum roleplay, that's probably where your characters would go. Is like, research, maintenance, marketing maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing you don't really do in-game.
Yes, exactly.
Unless you're Cody and just spamming set messages in New York, holy shit.
Then you have logistics, which is, basically hauling stuff and also escorting stuff. And then you have the one that I really like the most, that I think makes Wisp really unique, is the security division, which is basically...
Shoot things!
Actually, no, because the security division is mostly oriented towards eliminating Cardamine, which is not really surprising.
Yeah.
But they are organized in like an intelligence fashion kind of way, which means, you have agents, they have call signs, they are not allowed to reveal the details of themselves and so on. So, and also, like, when Wisp was created, we actually had this idea that we should research a drug that would be kind of helping the security division pilots to actually, enhance them and so on. So
yeah, I mean, you're kind of battling against genetically enhanced humans.
Yes. That's why we actually needed something to counter that, and we came up with this little thing called Alder Fluid. And because I'm cheating and I have my faction right up here, it's basically...
Can I just ask a really quick question, because this is kind of important. You hunt Cardamine-related things. Quite honestly, how often do you even encounter Cardamine smugglers these days?
Not very much. That's actually a really good point, because the Cardamine is just not really that profitable anymore. Yeah, exactly. The problem that I find is that if the premium scrap was actually buffed to what it was before, or maybe just something a bit less, but something to still be profitable to go to alpha, then I would suppose we'd see a bit more of that action, and that would actually be pretty fun.
Okay, so back to your cheating.
Yeah. It's basically, we have a drug that's called Alder Fluid, and it's basically like injected adrenaline and some other stuff that enhances your capability, enhances your...
You should start marketing that to students of Sirius.
Yeah, it basically is kind of like...
Freaking Red Bull in space.
General enhancement, yeah, it's like Red Bull but 10 times better. And it's still in the phase of testing. So that's why the security division pilots are first guinea pigs.
Wow.
So yeah, that's it.
Something about deeply ideological that you gave up humanity for cardamine. Let me just inject myself with huge amounts of drugs and shoot you in the face.
It's a facade.
Well, yeah, obviously.
And also, most of the like fundamentalistic ideologies don't make sense.
Well, obviously.
This one doesn't either.
Oh, okay, so, I mean, you are the leader, obviously, so what kind of player are you looking for? I mean, we just talked about what kind of player would, seem interested in this sort of things, but what kind of player are you personally looking for?
To be honest, I'm just looking for people that are willing to roleplay within the guidelines of the faction, and that's pretty much everything. If you want to trade, trade. You want to be in the security division. Of course, you're just gonna need to uphold some higher standards. But apart from that, it's do whatever you want and don't make me mad.
That's kind of pretty problematic. What about, what kind of responsibilities a player would have? Like, are there things like mandatory message dumps and trainings, and do you fly in groups, or do you, encourage solo flight?
I just, sometimes call out a convoy in the chat. Sometimes people log, sometimes they don't. The current problem is that we don't have much people at the moment, or many people. And until that changes, there aren't going to be really any mandatory stuff because, I'm trying to keep people here.
Yeah.
So,
don't give them less reasons to, like, don't give them more reasons not to fly.
Yeah, just do whatever you want, and when there's a group fight, you will be informed of that. Or group flight, rather.
Okay,
BMDs are not necessary, but, if you are in, like, the security division, which I keep mentioning all the time, they're what? What?
Huh?
Security division?
Security.
All
security.
You'd have to uphold some higher standards and post RP stories and message dumps and so on. But apart from that,
oh, fair enough. So situation pop. I'm a faction member. I undock from, I don't know, Atka. I'm alone in space. There's no one else online from the faction. What can I do? Like, what can I just go around and try to find?
Alright, so if you are a fighter, you can basically go to Kasari, for instance, or you can go to Gamma. You can basically look for RP encounters mostly, because, while we can hunt outcasts in GC, they are sometimes really hesitant to logging against us because, well,
past mistakes.
Stuff. But if you have your enemies online, you can always go there, roleplay with them, shoot them, and
with
so
guns.
on. Yes, exactly.
What about any sort of like specific goodies? You have a lot of factions which are really kind of popular because of either trade routes or ship types or whatever. What makes the Wisp innovations, like, what's the, top tier sort of equipment that you have? Like, what do you have access to
in terms of gameplay assets? Not that much, actually. The stuff that we've got is basically just really generic corporation stuff. So you can hop on a transport, you can hop on an escort, you can hop on a gunboat, and that's about it. We have a couple of shared stuffs, so you can use those, obviously. We don't really have any restrictions in terms of ship types. So if you're new and you're good at gunboats, you can fly a gunboat. Go ahead, provided it's of course a Condor Montante or a Kasari Explorer.
Well, fair enough. I mean, I would love to do that because not everyone's good in snubs and everything.
Yeah.
So I suppose
as far as the cryo trade routes are concerned, they aren't really good. There is a med stasis bands buff going on right now, so they are getting bots on Crete for quite a bit of money. But we also have an ongoing roleplay with the IMG, and we have an ongoing roleplay with building up Atka, which basically changes this entire thing into one really neat trade route, which is transporting Stabaline to the IMG base in Tau 37, then transporting Niobium ore on Cryer, because reasons, to New Berlin,
obviously,
and then transporting stuff for that Atka base construction thing to Atka. And that conducts a really nice triangle, and really, it gives a lot of money, gotta say.
Okay, so what is currently going on? Like, can you give us a sort of like a summary of the overall process so far, and like, what do you have in plan for this whole group?
Alright,
Like,
the
are
overall...
you actually planning to go official, or?
Yes, we are of course trying to go official, because there isn't an official Cryer faction, and I think the server would really benefit from having an official Cryer faction around. So as far as the ongoing roleplay is concerned, we have that Elder Fluid stuff, which is not very that, to the front. It's basically more of like, hey, you have this thing that we don't really know what's gonna do with you, so you can kind of do whatever you want. But then we have also one bigger roleplay project, which is going on with the Order, because we're a lawful faction and stuff. But
Obviously.
basically the idea is that they found a branch of alien microorganisms, and we found that they can be somehow used to be injected into human brain and do some really neat stuff with it. So there are a couple of stories on that. Well, actually, there's one story on that. So of course, if you're interested, you can read that. But basically, the entire idea that it's going to go towards is creating a way of launching an operating system in humans' brain. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting when it actually completes. We actually kind of planned on including Ajira into that, but unfortunately we all know what happened to Ajira Innovations, so rest in
Snack
pieces.
free.
Yeah, and snack free.
Snack free. So, this, that's pretty much...
And also, like, as far as the ongoing stuff is also that what I said about IMG. We have that. So there's quite a bit to do if you're looking for roleplays. There's quite a bit to trade if you're looking for trading. Quite a bit to shoot if you're looking for shooting. So
So you're a jack of all trades.
yes, basically.
So, well, there you have it, folks. This was the Wisp Innovations with Mr. Hudson, aka Protégé.
Yes. Goodbye.
Go join!
Go join.
Go join!